Being the psychedelic sheep in a family can definitely be a tough gig. In fact, being different, period, within your family system can create a lot of conflict, whether it's something as little as like getting a tattoo or listening to heavy metal, or something as big as denouncing or changing your religion, or going outside of the traditional path of the 9-to-5 job, or going to college, or whatever it is. This can create a lot of conflict for sure. And families can really lose their shit, even over the small things, right? Because like you have your parents, which are essentially like our kidnappers, right? Who take you hostage and try and fit you in this box, right? And try and fit you in their certain paradigm according to how their belief structures work. And humans resist change enough as it is, so when you have like your child who is completely breaking your paradigm apart, it's not that surprising that many parents get, let's say, upset over this. And on top of all this, you have modern society that has been culturally programming us for centuries now, which causes most people to automatically be against anything that's counterculture or anti-establishment. So yeah, taking psychedelics, which are highly illegal substances which have a huge stigma from society, can be a pretty difficult challenge, to say the least. My first true psychedelic experience happened almost 4 years ago when I was 21 after a very profound mushroom trip. This definitely shifted my perspective on reality. I was still the same person, this just left a few cracks in my ego. So after this experience, I was a lot more open-minded, I was more appreciative of life, and most importantly, I actually started to give a shit about the world, which was definitely a first. This was just the beginning of my psychedelic journey, and just know that I never once abused these substances, and I knew from the very start that these drugs were not to be fucked with, right? I always waited a long period of time between trips because I intuitively knew that these are to be used as tools, right? So about a couple of years later, I started to really get into psychedelic research and quickly found out that these psychedelic substances were not highly illegal because they were dangerous and that the government cared about our health and well-being. They're illegal because they promote critical thinking and usually wake people up from this zombified autopilot state. And it just made no sense because I couldn't find any valid scientific studies that were against these substances. In fact, the complete opposite were true, and there were like these plethora of scientific studies coming up like wildfire that were having overwhelmingly positive results. So then I asked myself, how the fuck can these substances be just as illegal as heroin? It's like, dude, it is so frustrating how people can fundamentally be so against something purely based on the status quo. And no matter how ridiculous it is, humans throughout history have always had this follow the crowd mob mentality. And this is not necessarily our fault because this mechanism has been programmed into us through the generations for evolutionary purposes. At the end of the day, humans are social creatures that must work together in order to survive. For example, you go back to the hunter-gatherer days, you have little Johnny over here, he's like a bit weird, you know, he starts questioning people's belief systems and have, let's say, controversial ideas and starts to get alienated from the rest of the tribe. And you gotta think, back then was a hell of a lot more savage than it is in today's world. So instead of getting, you know, gossiped about or unfriended on Facebook, little Johnny either gets beat, killed, tortured, sacrificed, or whatever weird shit they were into, or even exiled from the group and gets left for dead anyways. The rest of the tribe sees what happens to Johnny and sees firsthand what happens when you have controversial belief systems and start to question authority. And a result of this, they see that people get ostracized and it's not pretty what happens after that. So then they quickly learn, in order to survive, to, okay, I have to conform and fit in with the crowd or I'm going to be left for dead. And then this fear and anxiety gets embedded into our DNA and gets passed on to future generations. And this fear and anxiety has evolved over time, but it doesn't change the fact that we have a deep need to conform or at least fit in with a group. See, like these days you can be as weird and out there and controversial as you fucking want, but because of the internet, you're always gonna find a different community. And if you don't think that we have a deep innate need to be with others, just look at any prison system. What is the worst punishment that they can possibly do? Solitary confinement, right? People hate being alone so much that they would rather be with murderers, rapists, pedophiles, and all these criminals than to be alone, because that is the worst torture possible. It may seem like I've gone off topic, but I'm telling you guys this so then you can hopefully understand the psychological roots behind why people resist change and want to conform, you know what I mean? And our family is no different. So of course when your family finds out that you're doing illegal drugs, they're not going to be happy about it. From their perspective, you're taking this harmful substance that is contributing to the destruction of your mind and your life. And you know, they're coming from a place of love and want to protect you. Just remember that back in the day, this would have got their child killed or imprisoned. So it's like this unconscious way of them trying to protect you, right? They want you to be safe. So it is coming from a place of love, but they just don't usually realize the mechanics behind their own mind and why they're so against it. If only they knew that humans have been using psychedelics for spiritual purposes for fucking eons, but anyways. And the irony of this is when you have your family telling you not to do drugs, while they're like smoking a ciggy or drinking a glass of wine or fucking taking pain numbing pharmaceuticals, you know, and like, yes, this definitely does piss me off in a lot of ways, but I can't help but laugh at the absurdity of it all. It just depends on what mood I'm in. Just remember that back in the day, well, even now, the masses used to believe in the craziest ideas. And not only this, but they violently opposed people that were against it. Even at one point, scientists believed that the Earth was the center of the universe, and doctors used to prescribe cigarettes to patients because of their health benefits. And just like today, those ideas weren't based on rational scientific facts based in this reality. They were based on dogmatic ideologies programmed by culture XYZ, depending on what location that culture was from. And you know, when you have an authoritative figure like a scientist, a priest, a doctor, the government or whatever, telling you something, people are going to be much more inclined to believe it as fact without questioning it. People are very easily manipulated, especially by fear, and this is why advertisers and mainstream news use it all the time, and this is why people are so against drugs, right? Because all our parents know of drugs like psychedelics is the worst of the worst. So when you're against a mainstream belief like maybe drugs shouldn't be illegal, people automatically attack you because that idea is a threat to like their safety or like things of that nature. So anyways, I'll go back to my family and describe what I went through, you know, stepping out of this psychedelic closet per se. It all started when I told my family that I was going to fly to Peru. And you know, I was going through a lot of personal stuff and, you know, I had a lot of destructive habits, you know, like addictive tendencies and whatnot. I was depressed, anxious, tired, and just, yeah, not in a good place. So yeah, of course, Mum was immediately against it, and you know, said that I'm gonna get myself killed, and you know, she heard of horror stories and whatnot. But man, it was when I went to Chile about 2 years ago now, over 2 years ago, and then I told my family, whoo-wee, did they lose their fucking shit. And I got a very hostile reaction from my aunties, uncles, cousins, and they were very actively against me going to Peru, and they actually tried to stop me. I had like 7 of my family members hounding me, like cornered me, and just fucking lecturing me of why I shouldn't go. And they were saying things like, you're gonna go crazy, you're gonna turn into a hippie, it's a dangerous drug, so you're gonna get hurt, you're gonna get killed, you're gonna get robbed. And they even went as far as to say that I was gonna get raped by a shaman. I was like, wow, whew, okay then. Guess I better not go. But anyways, this went on for weeks, and they just kept lecturing me on why not to go, and fuck it, dude, it was exhausting. I'm like, dude, I'm gonna go anyway, like, can you just get off my back, please? And you know, I don't want to badmouth my family here, because they were doing it out of love and to protect me and whatever, and like I said, it's just they didn't objectively analyze the situation and do further research. They just heard one thing and fucking emotionally react. But they're not exactly the best people to take life advice from, especially if I want to live a healthy, wealthy life and thrive, you know what I mean, and live life on my terms. So of course, I didn't listen to them. Because just remember, if you follow someone's philosophy, you're following their lifestyle. Just gotta stretch. Sorry, just gotta change positions, mate. That's what she said. But anyways, long story short, oh dude, it's uncomfortable, man. You know when you just start sitting cross-legged for too long? I can't do it, man. I don't know how I could do something like Vipassana and just meditate for hours on end for 10 hours a day. Fuck. But anyways, long story short, I came back a completely different person, and most of my family could see it straight away. And I never once said anything. I didn't lecture anyone. I didn't say, oh, you should do ayahuasca, you should do this. Instead, I spoke with my actions. And some of my family members could see that ayahuasca was single-handedly the best thing I've done in my life, at least at that point in time. And it got to the point where my mum and my auntie were telling their friends about it, of how much it changed me, and they were recommending that, you know, their family members should do it or whatever. It's fucking crazy. So I guess the moral of the story is to never try and convince your family by using words, because 99% of the time it just ain't gonna happen. And trying to change anybody, well, it's not only fucking exhausting, but it's futile. Because trying to change somebody is like trying to change your reflection of the mirror by physically manipulating the mirror itself instead of changing who you are. And at the end of the day, you're just fucking jerking yourself off and not getting anything done. Actions speak louder than words. So just do you, live your path. Don't fucking lecture your family on shit, because I've been down that path, right? And it just created so much more conflict. My family never got along, like with me anyway. Just do your thing and do you. It's not in a sexual way. I'm talking like, do you. Just walk your path. Like, if these psychedelic tools are genuinely helping you with your personal growth, then your family is gonna see that. And if they don't, then fuck it. It's not your job to try and change their belief systems and shatter their paradigm. It's not a very resourceful way to spend your energy. So yeah, don't stress yourself out. I mean, yes, it can be frustrating, but only when you obsess on forcing others to see your worldview. You gotta respect other people's opinion, even though it's just downright stupid. As long as it's not hurting anybody, of course. The reality is, guys, that most people are always gonna look at you weird for just being different, right? Especially from using these psychedelic tools. So it's expected, man, because most people are gullible conformists who follow the crowd. But just remember that we're in a surge of a psychedelic renaissance, so this is going to get a lot more popular, and we're not going to be the minority anymore. It's just a matter of time. We just got to accept the fact that most families will never change their stance, and they're never going to change their belief systems, and for whatever bizarre reason, but it's just the way it is. Because the sad truth is that most people would rather be miserable than to be wrong, right? It's like they don't want to damage their pride or their ego. But even if you don't agree with your family's belief system, you can still get along with them. You can still talk about things that interest you outside of your controversial subjects, you know what I mean? I never used to accept my family for who they were, especially because of their mainstream belief systems. And what really pissed me off is how they judged me as a crazy person. But now I've just learned to just keep my mouth shut on certain subjects, and you know, I'm still talking about shit that I love, but just something that's not too conflicting with their beliefs, because they're my family. I know what's going to trigger them, you know, and I had that petty side of me that, and I still do sometimes. I just like to poke at people, push people's buttons, you know, to piss them off, get a reaction. But for the most part, I know when to keep my mouth shut, and I don't talk about things that's going to solicit a reaction from them. So then we get along a lot better, and our relationship has blossomed ever since. Like, every once in a while, I'll still drop in a truth bomb here and there. I might talk about psychedelics, but I'll vibe it out, and I'll know when it's appropriate. I don't come off in like a lecturing way, like, your belief systems are stupid. It's like, oh, actually, did you know that, you know, that kind of tone, you know what I mean? It works a lot better, trust me. And also another very useful tool is humor. If you poke fun at yourself and own those parts that people use against you, you're invincible. Let's say you make fun of yourself for being a hippie, you're automatically taking the sword away from your opponent, so they have nothing left to attack you with. For example, someone could say to you like, oh, why aren't you eating meat, or why are you taking psychedelic drugs? What are you, a tree hugger? And you can be like, well, what kind of a hippie would I be if I didn't do those things, you know? Like, I'm just trying to work myself up, you know? I'm gonna get a monk robe pretty soon and start praying to Hare Krishna. You're most likely just gonna laugh it off and then move past, right? And they can't really attack you with that anymore because you've desensitized yourself from that insult. Because as soon as you emotionally react, you've already lost the game. So guys, don't be afraid to just be yourself and show your true colors. Just don't shove your belief systems down people's throats. Don't be that guy. And just live your truth and do it with humor. It makes it a lot funner. I mean, life's a game after all, isn't it? So don't be so serious and just have fun and play. That's it from me, guys. Please don't forget to leave a like and drop a comment down below. I'd like to know, how did your family react when you first told them that you take psychedelics? Thanks to all you legends supporting me on Patreon. Deepest love and gratitude. You're really helping this channel continue to grow and be sustainable. So yeah, if you guys are interested in what Patreon is, I'll leave a link in the description below. Feel free. That's it, guys. Have an awesome day, and I'll catch you on the next video. Peace. Dead leg. Dead leg. Oh, I think I'm gonna get a chair next time.